We are discussing the situation at the front, not only with Andriy Tkachuk, an officer of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, but also a political scientist and volunteer. Mr. Andriy, welcome.
Good morning.
We would like to talk about something positive, but let's start with Pokrovsk. What is the situation there right now? You know, the General Staff says that there is no encirclement. Our military correspondents in particular, our Yulia Koryenko, says that in reality the situation is critical. There is in fact an encirclement there. I
agree with Yulia. I have read her posts. I know what she was writing about. Indeed, there is a problem in Pokrovsk. There is no full encirclement, really. And here we also need to understand how civilians perceive this concept. It's all like
the cauldron. Can you explain from a military perspective what is meant by encirclement right now?
There is such a thing as operational encirclement. This means cutting off logistics, cutting off capabilities to deliver supplies and rotate personnel. In certain areas of Pokrovsk, this situation is present in some respects. It's not irreparable, but it is truly difficult for our armed forces. We understand this about the southern part of Pokrovsk. There are problems in some brigades, in particular the 25th Brigade, which has been holding these positions for a year and is facing real difficulties withdrawing from their positions, however. Overall, there are chances to cover this and withdraw. This is why, as we understand it, the main intelligence directorate was involved. It should also be understood that such actions are carried out precisely to ensure a safe, pardon the tautology, but this is called operational security, to ensure the withdrawal of our units and to value human lives. In other words, we need to act less and less symmetrically and linearly in response to the Russians. We need to act asymmetrically. And the actions carried out by the main intelligence directorate, as well as by other SOF units and special forces operating and having operated in Pokrovsk, precisely demonstrate that we are capable of acting asymmetrically in certain situations and doing so effectively, so that tactical advantages accumulate and transform into significant operational gains. It is possible. And above all, it is both possible and important to ensure the safety of personnel.
Andriy, may I clarify something at this point? Do you believe that the main objective of the special operation in Pokrovsk was precisely to ensure the safety of the soldiers currently there and in the future to secure their withdrawal rather than to clear Pokrovsk, as is often stated in the media?
There are two tasks being carried out simultaneously. Regarding the clearing operation, it's not only special units that are clearing Pokrovsk. Let's be honest, the 7th Air Assault Corps is doing an excellent job there, both in clearing operations and in urban combat. Outstanding work by the corps, outstanding work by the corps commander, Ole Oleksichuk and Yevhen Polokonov. So we really have to admit, we're so used to mentioning the Azov Corps because that's just what we're used to. But the 7th Air Assault Corps did a phenomenal job in Pokrovsk. In fact, they did everything they could, and it's often the Air Assault Corps that handles the clearing operations. Yesterday, you might have seen the video where one Air Assault soldier took out 3 occupiers.
With simple alarm clocks.
In other words, just phenomenal work by the soldiers from different units that make up the Corps. Why did I mention that she is familiar with the situation regarding the Corps? Because very often what happens here, so to wrap up this topic, special units assisted in the clearing operation, but at the same time, look, I want to speak honestly with people and not wear rose-colored glasses. Perhaps with such actions, heroic actions that are taking place, because the landing of the Black Hawks, our helicopters in Pokrovsk, looked phenomenal. It looked so spectacular that everyone thought, oh, now we're going to change the course of events, now Budanov, the superheroes, will change everything, and that's it. Let's be honest, there are no superheroes today. There is a map of military operations, there is a line of contact, and in some areas the enemy has a 7-to-1 advantage. And we need to understand this, not to overheat society. Right now, let's say the General Staff tells us that everything is under control, everything is fine, but after some time we might have to leave the city. And what will we tell society then? If we are to make a proper tactical withdrawal to pre-prepared positions, then let's talk to society openly, honestly, and from the start. And let's not wear rose-colored glasses, let's not overheat it. It's much worse to overhype society now, to say that everything will work out, everything will be fine, and then leave the city. It's better for society to understand what operations and actions are being carried out. And still, what I don't like is that we always end up looking for some scapegoat in such situations. That is, Pokrovsk is not an operation of a brigade commander or a corps commander. It is the responsibility of the highest military leadership. This needs to be acknowledged, and this needs to be seen and understood. And I really wouldn't want, for example, for Lysychuk or the 7th Air Assault Corps to be blamed for anything. They did a phenomenal job. And yes, in my opinion, I am more than convinced of this. I understand we are helping the units, we are helping the paratroopers as well, and other units that are in Pokrovsk. And we know the situation there very well and clearly. It is very difficult there. And what these units are doing is not just heroic, it's something truly extraordinary.
Well, and of course, we can't start the morning without a drop of positivity. Mr. Andriy, I have a question for you about the fundraiser. We now have a QR code. This fundraiser is not a simple one. The positive thing is that you can win a car for your donation. Tell us in more detail, what are you raising funds for? And what kind of donation is required? For a donation of
100 hryvnias, you can win a 2020 Chevrolet Trailblazer, which is actually in excellent condition. It was donated by a veteran of the Special Operations Center, his own personal car from home, in order to raise funds for his fellow soldiers for drones, as well as for units in the Pokrovsk direction.
Friends, you can see it now. This is the car. We see it on the screens.
Right? Yes, this car is actually in excellent, phenomenal condition. It's a really cool and high-quality car. People used to accuse us saying, you raffle off all sorts of Mustangs, Maseratis, raffle off something that I can actually afford to fuel and maintain.
You know, that's exactly what I wanted to add for our viewers who might not know. This is a fundraiser with, I don't even know how to put it, I guess I'll say with 100% trust in you, because for Mr. Andriy, this is already his 10th anniversary fundraiser where a car is raffled off, and all the previous fundraisers, there were 9 cars, and they all found their owners through donations, essentially. So your donation of 100 hryvnias is both a way to help the military and a chance to win a car.
Moreover, with these fundraisers, in most cases, we actually provide more equipment worth more money than the amount we collect. Because we have wonderful partners from Norway, a private initiative called Fritjof Kraine. People have come together, combined their businesses, and very often multiply our donations. We collect all the money for drones, 10 million for drones, and these funds are doubled twice by our partners from VIX-2.
So if someone donates 12 hryvnias, then
there's only one chance left, but as a result, we'll purchase drones for 10 million hryvnias, and with that, for 18 to 20 million, we're buying FPV Mavics, and we've already bought them. So friends are heading out to the front lines because the situation is critical and we don't have time. We're sitting in debt and paying it off, so there's a big request for everyone to join in. This isn't about winning a car, it's about helping the units in Pokrovsk today. Today, we've already purchased FPVs and Mavics that are heading there. They'll be operating in the Pokrovsk, Dobropilia and Cheretiane directions. This is truly very important. I'll also announce, if you don't have a 100 hryvnia donation, for 20 hryvnias, we'll add another prize. My friend has gifted a brand new iPhone 17, so there will be one more gift. We might have to dance on Ruslan's head, spin on it, do somersaults, I don't know, to raise these funds. Well, unfortunately, those are the challenges we face.
And friends, let me just remind you technically how this works. Donations. Right now you can see the card number on your screens as well as a QR code. Just open your phone, point the camera at it, and the camera will read the code and take you directly to the payment link.
Ruslan, if you are not a Monobank user, please be sure to include your last name and first name in the notes so we can find you later. Because that's how Monobank works. If you're a user, it will give us your contact information. If you are not a user, be sure to leave your name, like Ivan Ivanov, and your phone number in the notes.
Friends, there are already 50,000 in the account, so you have a great chance to win everything we've promised.
And the winner will be one of our viewers from Plesi.
By the way, you know, I'll use the QR code too.
Right now.
I'm not an iPhone user though. You
walk by car.
Yes, but then Andriy has to promise me that if I win the car, there will be a new drawing. So everyone who joins now has an even better chance.
When you announce a drawing, the participants, let's say the organizing committee, and we are basically the organizing committee, can't be the winners.
Then Marichka...
Donate, but you can't win.
All right. Then we'll do a redraw, that's fair. If a user wins, a viewer with a plus, we transfer it here. We'll hand over the gift to you. The second one will look nice, by the way.
You can also treat yourself. Come visit us. We promise you a tour as well. That's in addition to the giveaway. 100,000 already, friends, is here. Let's continue. You see, we've even added a tour, and we'll personally guide it ourselves. So please, let's push this fundraiser a bit more, because we still have time while we're talking with Mr. Andriy. You can keep donating, and you can also continue donating on YouTube. So let's return to the situation at the front in the event of the loss of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. What further threats could this pose to the front? If you'd like to show it on the map, let's do that.
May I come over? Yes, please come over. As of today, the situation is that on the routes leading to Pavlohrad, which go west from Pokrovsk, there are prepared defensive lines with new positions that have been set up in advance. These lines have already been identified and prepared, and indeed the fact is that our defense forces will not be retreating into nowhere. This is an important point. Why is this an important point? Because let me remind you, you can't see it here, but right here we have Avdiivka. Roughly speaking, if we start from here and go over there, remember what happened with Avdiivka? After Avdiivka fell, the fighting quickly shifted from Avdiivka in that direction. And down here, it's the same. There you go. You see, I've already messed up the map. From Avdiivka, and even now, you often hear in the media about the direction of Ocheretyan. Ocheretyan is a hub. It's an important hub for the occupiers, where they carry out all their operations. And after Avdiivka, the occupiers advanced very quickly toward Ocheretyan. At the moment, there is no sense of the threat that is supposed to affect the next settlements. The enemy will immediately start working in the information space, claiming that they are advancing toward Pavlohrad.
This will not happen because there are fortified positions that will stop the enemy. They will not advance on Pavlohrad, unfortunately. The story will move north toward Dobropilya.
And how do you perceive this? It's always about Russian pressure. It's always about the enemy having a very large human reserve, about different numbers. We've heard when our command spoke about the Russian grouping around Pokrovsk, there are more than 100,000 Russians spread out across various positions. Well, at least that's what we heard a month and a half or 2 months ago. Perhaps now there are even more. How did you take the news yesterday that starting next year, Russia will be conducting military conscription throughout the entire year? Let me just remind you that under normal circumstances, this conscription is held in the spring and autumn. And what does this conscription mean? But
they declare that this is for the protection of important facilities on Russian territory.
This means that we need to actively donate using the QR code, take off our rose-colored glasses. The war is not going to end and the enemy has no intention of stopping. You know, as they say, there are two sides to every coin. The first is that the war will continue. The enemy has a larger human resource than we do and they will use it. That's the negative aspect. The positive aspect is that they can't handle it. They can't manage with the forces and means we had anticipated. The fact that they are already mobilizing 18-year-old convicts who have just turned 18 in juvenile colonies shows that they are lacking personnel. Will these conscripts be used in combat operations? Not necessarily, but they really could free up others. Military personnel who are guarding critical facilities operating on the territory of the Russian Federation so that they could be moved forward.
by the way, that's exactly what I wanted to clarify.
Replacement, mobilization.
Because the draft, well, that's 18, maybe 20 years old, right? Or those who finished university, 22 years old. So, in fact, this draft, over the course of a whole year, would only have an effect if they sent these people to the front in about a year and a half.
A year and a half from now. Things aren't as good as people say. I remember in one of the operations I took part in, we were clearing out areas with our units and entering certain settlements. I gained access to documents. We found documents. It was during the Kursk operation. We entered several Russian headquarters and command posts, and I saw ordinary documents. On March 30th to 31st, I refused to go to Crimea. On April 1st, I am ready to go to Crimea. And this was a conscript. Unfortunately, we have to state that the actual first stage of mobilization actions has already passed. The second stage is underway, during which conscription will last throughout the year. This is essentially the mobilization of the resources of the Russian Federation.
Mr. Andriy, let's talk about our contracts then. Recently, the Ministry of Defense announced that various contracts are being prepared for recruitment. People to the armed forces of Ukraine for a period from 1 to 5 years. This does not concern the 18 to 24 age group, which we have discussed with you before regarding infantry, UAV units, and so on. This applies to those aged 18 to 60 and above. We assume you are aware of this.
This is actually the quintessence of the project you mentioned, 18 to 24, which was a pilot for contract-based proposals. And this, you know, as they say, is long overdue. This has been brewing for about 2 years now. This initiative is being actively pushed, as far as I understand, even in the President's office, because it's constantly being discussed at the staff meetings. Right after Monday's staff meeting, the Ministry of Defense came out with a communication about these contracts. So the initiators of the contract processes in the office are the president himself and Pavlo Palisa, the deputy head of the office, and 18 to 24 was a pilot project. A pilot project that, it turns out, was successful if they finally managed to convince, thank you, the top military and political leadership that there should be contracts for the entire environment for all servicemen.
But does this mean that the contracts are only for new people? No.
It provides for the fact that those who have been serving for a long time will also have contracts. According to the information I have, there will be two types of contracts. A shorter contract for those who, well, there should be a shorter contract for those who are already serving, because that's fair. Why? I have to sign a contract for 2 years, and a civilian has to sign a contract for 2 years. That's not fair. So the way I see it, shorter contracts, 1 or 2 years, should be available for current service members to sign. Contracts for 2, 3, or 4 years are the ones that new recruits should be signing, but the key thing is the length of service. Because even now, people are signing contracts. But it's a very simple thing, 5 years or until the end of the special status, meaning martial law. And that's unclear. But here the contract is like 18 to 24 months. Martial law or not, they shake your hand, give you a certificate, a medal, a rank, and send you off to demobilization. And every
Next day brings you closer to that.
And then you get a year to rest. That is, you need a year after your service to go somewhere, relax, reset, reflect on your life, and spend some time in a routine.
Well, let's just once again, as we wrap up our conversation, we have an hour left, remind everyone about the ongoing fundraiser. This is a fundraiser where for just 100 hryvnias you can take part in a raffle. Actually, it's not just that you can take part, you automatically enter the car raffle, which we've shown during today's broadcast. The producers are already telling us that we've reached $250,000 for this, and
there's also a phone available.
That was promised. First phone announcement.
If you donate 20 hryvnias, you get a chance to win a phone with that donation. This is iPhone 17.
And as a bonus, if you are our viewer and want to, we will also show you
Excursion. Yes, and the main thing here is that if you are not a user of a monobank but of a private bank, then you must definitely provide your data so that later when raffle.
It's important, don't be alarmed if in the description the bank might say that 200 hryvnias were given. Today, here in the Plus studio, we're announcing that we're lowering this amount so that you have more chances, and everyone who previously donated 200 hryvnias will now have 2 chances to...
Now, you're not alone. You count as 2. Thank you for all your donations. I think that 250 is just the beginning, and more will keep coming in. There will be even more.